Now, shall we begin?
The one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail, fall, die trying. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you.
Greetings, sentients! Welcome back to 2001's Robots in Disguise.
走れ走れ闇を貫けスーパーソニック遥か空へと響くエクソソの命の鼓動が聞こえるかトランスフォームゴーボーイゴーボーイ炎のバッドライブファイアーコンボイ赤い閃光誰もが輝く命一つカンロボットカンロボットカンロボットサイバトロ
Now you might have noticed the theme song was different this time. That's because that was the Car Robots opening. Like we mentioned in a previous episode, it's slightly longer than Robots in Disguise's opening, which is why often Robots in Disguise episodes are actually slightly longer than Car Robots. Well, they'll re-loop animations or even go over the same subject matter more than once in order to pad out the episode. Today's episode, episode 2, is an explosive situation, and introduces perhaps the most hated Transformer character of this era, Skybite.
What's that? You must be kidding me. It's a shark!
Listen, pal, I think you'd better go back to sleep. This night shift really is getting to you. Whoa!
Snack! I need more energy, and I believe I know where to find it!
Now we're going to take a time out here and discuss Skybite a little bit in depth. This is the first time we've seen this character. He wasn't in the first episode or mentioned, and he kind of comes right out of nowhere. In fact, I'm not even sure, at least in the American version here, that he's actually part of Megatron's team at this point. Skybite kind of comes off in these earlier episodes as a freelancer who seems to have just shown up on Earth almost at random and then simply have attached himself to the local group of Predacon. Now, to put Skybite in context, you have to step back for a moment. Remember, about half of Robots in Disguise's toy line are repaints of previous toys. This goes for virtually all of the Predacons with the exception of Megatron. Skybite's original model was the Transmetal 2 variant of Cybershark. Now you've probably not ever heard of Cybershark or are familiar with that name, but he's quite possibly the most popular toy character of Beast Wars. And by toy character, I mean a character who does not appear in the TV show or really any other form of media. There's really just the toy and the little bio that used to come on the back of the box. Unfortunately, Hasbro doesn't really do this anymore. But this actually went all the way back to the 80s originally. They provide a sort of bio and tech specs on the character. It would give you an idea how powerful the character was, what its skills were, and something about the character's personality. This seems to have gone out of fashion really about Robots in Disguise's time. They still did it to some degree, but more half-hearted during this era. And then Armada sank it completely. It's occasionally popped back up from time to time in Transformers Generations, but tends to be pretty rare. Anyway, Cybershark originally transformed into a hammerhead shark, and he was a maximal bounty hunter. It was a pretty cool looking toy, quite popular. In fact, in Japan, Takara liked his model so much, they retooled it not once but twice. Once for Beast Wars 2 and a second time for Beast Wars Neo. That's how popular that the figure was. With Hasbro, the character was in fact popular enough, he was one of the few rare figures, the toy characters, that actually got a Transmetal 2 variant. And at that point in Beast Wars, they had never redone a toy character before. Show characters had gotten new models, but toy characters hadn't, and he was one of, I believe, 3 toy characters to get an upgrade. With this upgrade, he was changed, his beast mode was changed from a hammerhead shark to a tiger shark. I'm not necessarily sure why, but there you go. Again, the Transmetal 2 line was during the 3rd season of Beast Wars, and there seemed to be a slight running theme of changing characters' beast modes at the time. It's only a handful, but most notably, of course, is Megatron, who in Beast Wars was a Tyrannosaurus Rex, or Tyrant Lizard, the dinosaur king, which is quite fitting for his alt mode. But in the 3rd season, he changed it for a dragon form. But he wasn't the only character to swap Beast mode. Previously, in Beast Wars, there had been a character during the 1st season era of the toy line called Prowl, who transformed into a lion. He also got an upgrade and transformed into a Transmetal 2 owl during the 3rd season. Although some people consider this to be a separate character. Quite possibly the original Prowl actually combined with 2 other Transformers to make the only maximal combiner, Magnaboth. Having him transform into an owl now means he no longer combines with them. Who knows, possibly the other 2 were killed off, and he was the only survivor. However, there have been some people who considered this Prowl to be a separate Transformer altogether. But Cybershark was another one who got a different beast mode. He's still a shark, but a different type of shark, and distinctly different. The hammerhead has a signature look. There's a reason they're called hammerhead sharks. Tiger sharks are a more generic shark look. I think the real-life shark has stripes, but Cybershark did not. Regardless, the Transmetal 2 Cybershark is perhaps not quite as beloved as the original, but still considered one of the high benchmarks of Beast Wars. A very successful, very well put together model. Its only real weakness are particularly what's in robot mode, these shoulder pads. They do have a tendency to fall off in transforming sometimes, and can be a little bit tricky. Skybite was actually retooled to make this easier. But other than that, he's just a straight up repaint of Cybershark. And not a particularly good one. Skybite is supposed to be a great white shark. However, you'll notice he's actually primarily blue more than he's white, and he's not particularly great white shark looking. Again, great whites, I want to say they are the largest non-extinct shark currently. I'm not 100% positive. Whale sharks might be bigger, but nevertheless, great whites are among the largest sharks, and they do kind of have a distinct profile, which Skybite's definitely lacking. But again, this toy was not made from the ground up. It's a repaint of a tiger shark. So if you are an expert in sharks and Skybite doesn't look quite right to you, that's why. If you're not an expert in sharks, he probably looks fine. Anyway, like I said, the character of Cyber Shark, this sort of maximal bounty hunter character, was quite beloved with the fan base. Admittedly small one, as I said, he wasn't a show character. But his models were highly popular and very successful. So many fans were very disappointed in the characterization of Skybite. Some of them feeling like it was a bit of an insult to Cyber Shark, as Skybite is pretty much the opposite of cool. He's not too bad in these earlier episodes. Skybite is one of the few Transformers who actually has something of a character arc in Robots in Disguise. Admitted, a very vague one. And basically the majority of his story arc is from mildly competent to just as incompetent as the Three Stooges. That's basically where Skybite goes. In these earlier episodes, he at least seems like he knows what he's doing for the most part. And the other Predacons, and even the Autobots to some degree, seem to actually have at least some level of respect for him. The Three Stooges appear to actually be afraid of him, almost in the same way they're afraid of Megatron. And the Autobots do seem like they treat him as a genuine threat. Not something they're afraid of, per se, but they do seem slightly more hesitant to confront him at times. That said, he's not really any more successful than any of the other Predacons. And as the show progresses, he actually becomes more incompetent and more cowardly. Not to mention also even develops something of a depression about his failure, which I suppose makes the character at least mildly aware of his situation within the show, which for Robots in Disguise is admittedly somewhat rare. Now, he actually does have a slightly further story arc that redeemed him in some people's eyes. We'll deal with that story arc later. For now, what we have here is the still mildly competent, apparently freelancer Skybite.